This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Kathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started. Hello, I'm Kathy Worthington. Welcome to Late Boomers. Today, our special guest is Jason Johnson, producer, independent screenwriter, and film director. His 9 films have been selected for 80-plus film festivals across the globe, and his work has won numerous times.
And I'm Mary Elkins. At the beginning of his career, he worked with legendary film director Francis Ford Coppola. And after 4 years, he took Coppola's advice to, and I'm going to quote what Coppola said, go out and become famous by throwing his hat into independent filmmaking. Jason has gone on to write, direct, and produce award-winning content for Discovery Networks, ABC, Amazon, Netflix, to name a few, and now writes, produces, and directs for the company he founded, Strike 5 Films. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction.
Great
to have you. We said that exactly together. Okay. What's the story of your personal journey, and what and who inspired you to become a filmmaker?
I think I always grew up loving films. I watched a lot of TV with my mom and my brother growing up, and I was always just really interested in who were the people that put these images on the screen, just who was in the background. So, that led me to doing a lot of drawing, which led me to comic books, which was kind of creating my internal desire to write stories. And so after high school, I went to Eastern Illinois University, and I settled in communication for the radio and TV and film department, and then just became even more engrossed in the love of film and just wanting to do it. And then I got a chance to act in a student film, and then that just really pushed me over, and I've been pursuing it ever since.
Wow.
It's such an interesting approach because very few people take up writing from drawing first. I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah. Well, I had a really vivid childhood where, we played with G.I. Joe men, and we were always like fabricating these stories around them. So I think I always had the desire to, put the words in, but drawing was kind of the first thing that I started with.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you were in college, besides acting, did you direct or produce any films?
In college, I actually didn't. I thought that I wanted to be an actor. That's what my initial thought was. So when I got out of school, I went on a lot of acting casting calls, and then they would say, you, not you, Jason. And then, they pick everyone else. And I was just like, well, why don't you pick me? Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
Mary and I were both actors. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. We both worked in the entertainment industry, and it's difficult to get even in the door and then be acknowledged, get the job and be acknowledged for our work. So now that you're on the other side and doing so well, what do you think it takes to make a career in the business?
I think it takes a certain amount of grit. I think you have to be somewhat delusional that you're going to make it, because there's just there's so much competition. But it really just comes down to the belief in yourself and that you can do it, and you can never quit. You just have to just have that mindset and just keep pushing forward despite what your circumstances are showing you.
That's very good advice.
Yes.
Will you talk to us a little bit about independent filmmaking versus the Hollywood system? It sounds like you're in the former.
I am in independent filmmaking, yes. And I think that, Well, I'll just say I really enjoy being in the independent film market because you have a lot more creativity and a lot more latitude because you
Hmm.
receive a lot less notes and you're kind of like the master of your own ship. However, when you're with Hollywood, you get you know these studios that you have an idea and they probably produce like financing and distribution, so you're somewhat beholden to their notes and what they ultimately want the project to be. So both are good and both have their pros and cons, but I'm really enjoying working in the independent market now.
It's a
Um,
big difference in your budget and your money raising, you know,
yeah, I was
right?
about to ask that.
Yeah, well, so far I've done lower budget pictures, but I think I'm going to get there. So, I think I'll be working in the Hollywood system soon enough.
Well, a
Hmm.
lot of people want to stay in the independent film system because it's doing so well these days, and they have their awards on TV now, and they're winning Oscars. So
Y-
Not so well. They do.
Yeah,
yeah, maybe that's
that's one of
where
my
you're going.
dreams. I believe that I'm going to win multiple Oscars. So be on the lookout for that.
I
But
will.
yeah, I would say online media has really changed the game because it's
Hmm.
really leveled the playing ground where, before you had to go through the Hollywood system, but now everyone has access to a phone, the internet, and, that gives creators that may not have access to millions of dollars to create something. So,
Hmm.
this is really a great time to be a filmmaker and to be a creative.
Yeah.
See, have you made a film on your phone?
Uh, no.
Thought I'd ask because you brought it up.
Remember that guy that made the
Yeah,
independent film at Disneyland on his phone? I don't know if you heard about that, but he shot all over Disneyland without anybody getting onto
really.
it with actors and everything. And they just like really secretive,
Oh,
you
okay.
know? Yeah.
And then it
I'm
got
not surprised by that.
distribution.
Wow.
Yeah, I never saw that film though. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. Well, on the other note, how hard is it to get distribution if you're an independent filmmaker?
So I guess it depends. So I guess you can make a film, and then there's avenues like Tubi, Amazon Prime. I think there's a couple other ones that will allow you to upload your projects directly to them, and then you kind of work with their kind of in-house system as far as what their contracts are. So that's relatively easy. But to find a bona fide distributor, that could be challenging. So it really depends on who who has access to like these distributing companies. Luckily for me, I have a couple of people that I work with that are producers or higher up that are introducing me to more producers. Later this year, I'll be going to the American film market and
Cool.
we'll be courting some producers for my next projects.
Oh, cool. You have to let everybody know when. What is guerrilla filmmaking? Is that what we're talking about?
No. Well, guerrilla filmmaking is that's
No.
kind of like going into Disneyland and filming
Hmm.
on an iPhone.
That's
It's
it.
yeah,
I,
it's
I was in a
essentially
film like that. It was a disaster. We were filming in Santa Monica, literally in the traffic, and it was just absurd.
yeah.
The woman doing it was crazy.
Well, if she was
But
standing in the middle of the traffic, yeah.
well, on the sidewalk with all this noise and construction and tearing up the sidewalk and all this stuff, we're like trying to do dialogue. It was absurd.
hmm
I
Yeah.
bet you've had a better experience with that, though. Have you?
Uh, I've had a mixed bag results of guerrilla filmmaking. I remember one of the first producer jobs that I took. We filmed on the campus of Cal Berkeley, and we didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
permit, which would be guerrilla filmmaking. But I came
Mm-hmm.
up with the bright idea that everyone will wear Cal Berkeley shirts and we'll blend in as students. And then
Mm-hmm.
if anyone came by, then we're just students. We're just making a little student film. No big deal. So after 3 or 4 times security drove by, they finally caught on, and they were just like, "This isn't a student project. Some of you guys are like 50, 60 years old."
Oh,
Some of the crew.
Yeah.
So they said, "Who's in charge here?" And then they all pointed at me, and my instinct kicked in. I said, "Oh my God, I'm in trouble!" So I took off running, and
oh,
Oh,
yeah, so
that must have went over real big with the campus police.
yeah,
yeah.
so
Campus police are not fond of that.
no,
I went
but
to UCLA and I've seen all the stuff that went on in Berkeley. My daughter went to Cal. So it's like you were asking for trouble. What'd they do to you?
So I disappeared into Berkeley for probably about 30 minutes, and then the executive director called me and said, "Hey, you have to come back. You're not in trouble, but you have to agree that
Oh,
you'll never pull anything like this again." So I said, "Okay, I'll never guerrilla filmmaker on your campus again," and that was it. So it was kind of
Just
a
at
slap on the
USC,
wrist.
oh,
just
pretty,
on another
pretty
campus.
funny.
Yeah,
Pretty,
yeah, just
a
I'll
different
do it at
campus.
Stanford next time. Yeah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, sometimes creatives have a tough time marketing their work. And I know Mary already asked you a little bit about distributing, but talk about your strategies you usually need to develop for some of your films for marketing.
For marketing.
Yeah, it's a different
Um,
side of the brain,
Yeah, I
right?
would say so. Usually, what I do is as soon as we say that we're going to start a project, I like to involve the might become my potential audience in the process. I feel like these days people are very interested in kind of the day to day routines. So,
Oh,
whether we're casting, whether we're doing location scouting, I like to give people a snippet of, what's going on. So as
that's
time goes on and the film
mm.
comes to fruition, then they're like, "Wait, I've been following this project for like the last 6 months. I'm really excited to go see this film now." So that's been really successful for us in the past.
Oh, that's brilliant. You do it on social media or any
Yeah,
other ways?
it's
Yeah.
all on social media, podcasts. We're always talking about it, and the talent. Some of the crew that aren't camera shy, they'll go ahead and jump into.
And what are
Oh,
you
that
working on right now? Is there a
yeah.
project going on right now that we could talk about?
Sure. I've just finished writing this film called Counterfeit Cabernet, um, and it's about a wine vintner that loves underground gambling and gets in trouble with the wrong gangster, and the gangster gives him an ultimatum to either pay off the debt or to be taken out. So he
Mm.
concocts this plan to make counterfeit wine to pay off the tab, and a lot of seedy characters kind of filter in and out of the story.
Did you have to
Wow.
do a lot of wine research on that, or are you a wine aficionado?
I actually, I would say neither, but I actually did work in the wine industry when I first moved to California. I worked for
Oh.
Francis Ford Coppola Winery when I first
Oh,
moved here,
Mhm.
and knew nothing about wine, but they gave me an opportunity to be a wine steward, and that's where I started to learn about wine.
So you were
oh,
learning wine while you were trying to meet Francis Ford Coppola also, right?
Yeah. Well, I
You were
guess I
drawn to
did.
that winery for a
Yeah.
reason. I got
well, it's
it.
good wine.
Yeah, it's great wine, and actually, truth be told, that's the only place that responded to any of my resumes that I sent out. So
Oh,
it was really interesting because when I first moved to Napa, I followed a girl out here, probably like every guy does, and uh, yeah, I didn't have a job at first, but I sent out like hundreds of resumes and wasn't getting any hits. But the only place that called me was Francis Ford Coppola Winery.
Mm,
meant to be.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
yeah, you have a lot of ambition. I'm looking forward to hearing what he says about that film, that your new film. Has he commented on your other films at all?
I don't believe so. But when I see him, I'm going to go to a San Francisco film kind of a dinner later in the year, and I suspect he'll be there. So I'm going to
That'll be
reconnect with him there.
exciting.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, what draws you to a project?
I think the desire to do something interesting. I think that you have to be really vested in it because you're ultimately going to be on this journey for a couple of years. So I was really interested. I've always been interested in wine since I started learning about it. But I'm from Chicagoland, and Chicago has a lot of gangster history. So that's of interest too. So I thought, what if these two worlds merged together? What would that look like? So yeah, I think it just comes down to something that you're interested in, and the desire to tell a really good, interesting story.
Well, do you
You,
do other people's scripts or only your own?
I've written for kind of been a script doctor for other people to kind of help them with their beats and kind of point out things that they can kind of polish. But generally, I just kind of write my own scripts.
Ah,
I was curious about when I looked at parts of your website, and you were talking about, in many cases, about social justice being drawn to that type of film, and trying to right the wrongs of society. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think as just a human being, you want to see that everyone gets an equal opportunity in life. This is regardless of race. So I just have a real strong passion for uh, seeing people, realize their dreams and having, their opportunity kind of come to fruition. So that's something that was kind of ingrained to me when I was young. So that's just something that I always try to actively fight for.
Yeah,
excellent.
I watched your film Lifeline Redress as one of them. It's really moving. It made me cry. Yeah,
Really? Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. Well,
now
talk about what it's about.
um so Lifeline is about a army veteran that comes home and he has PTSD, and he's calling the crisis hotline because he wants to commit suicide, um, and that is brought on because he had a girlfriend that he really loved, but she the relationship didn't work out for whatever reason. So in the film, he learns. Well, I'm sorry, the operator learns that she's talking to her ex-boyfriend, and she finds out that at the end that he decides to ultimately end his life. So that was kind of a different way of trying to tell a story that is unfortunately uh, we witness a lot these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about some of your other films or
Sure.
stories? What stories you've maybe like, what's your favorite? Tell us a couple, like things that you've done that you'd like our audience to investigate and maybe take a look at.
Um, yeah, so I'm kind of eclectic in my films. I never really try to do the same thing over and over again, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Mhm.
But I've done a mockumentary called "The Bad Bunch," and it talks about the dwindling bird population in San Francisco. It's just kind of a joke, but uh, in that film, we're just talking about how San Franciscans are eating all the birds, and it's a major
Ooh,
problem. Uh,
yuck. The
yeah,
pigeons?
yeah,
Yeah,
all the pigeons.
roast pigeon.
Yeah.
Roast pigeon.
uh, and in redress, I aim to tackle our what seems to be racism in the United States. I talk about uh, how a black drunk driver ran over a white gentleman's daughter, and he seeks revenge in the most heinous way. So that would be redress. And then trying to think, I don't watch my films maybe I should.
Hmm.
Um, the first film I did was called Black Rogers. It was a black exploitation take off of the show Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
So, and that was a time when I was first starting. I didn't know anything. I didn't have any actors, so I was the principal character. So I was wearing, I guess, four hats in that project. I was
Hmm.
acting, I wrote it, I directed it, and then I edited it. So, yeah, those are
But to
just some
say
of the
nothing of the
projects.
fact that you had to produce it too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So I also
Hmm.
made all the costumes and all the
Oh,
props, and
You
so
did.
yeah. So I
did you
guess I'm
have anybody at
shortchanging.
least holding the camera or not?
Yeah, what's
Kind of.
interesting? I was teaching at Napa College at the time, and I pulled the janitor aside and said, "Hey, I need a cameraman. Do you think that you want to do this?"
Oh, oh my
And he
gosh.
said
Y-
yeah. So so he actually was a cameraman for my first project.
I bet he
And
loved that.
yeah, because you get a chance to stop pushing a broom around and actually do something
Hmm.
creative. So and he
Well,
was quite good. He got some really good shots. So
Good.
what's your most recent film?
my most recent film is called Thought, and it is about guys in barbershops talking about relationships with girls and kind of in a bad way. However, we kind of turn it on its head and we make it a love story. So we take a negative connotation and attempt to make it positive.
Oh, I like
Interesting.
that. Well, you've talked a little bit about the challenges you faced, but can you tell us more about some big challenges that you've encountered along the way besides getting caught at UC Berkeley?
Sure. This has been um, I'll say any film journey, you're going to have your ups and downs. And it's probably cliche for me to say that at one time I was homeless. I was pursuing film, and in the film industry, it kind of turns out where it's all or nothing. And when I was freelancing, there were a couple months where I made a ton of money, and I said, "Wow, this is great! I'm always going to make this money." And then one day, it just said it stopped, and then my account kept dwindling, 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 until my landlord said, "You're 2 months behind on rent, so you've got to go." So I couch
Mm.
surfed for a couple of months until that was no longer an option, and then I had to sleep in my car for about a month until I found stable income, and uh, then learned my lesson that you should really uh, be frugal because you never know when the gravy train will end.
It's tough being a living the life of an artist and trying to live your truth, right?
Hmm.
It's hard. Yeah. If you could do anything over, what would you do differently, either in your career or in the films you've made?
Um, that's an interesting question. But looking back at it, I don't think that there's anything that I would change because
Hmm.
it's all about the journey. And
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times, but you have to really embrace just the journey as a whole, because when you reach that pinnacle moment, that's ultimately when you'll look back and say, "Wow, all the tough times were really worth it," and I'm so glad that I stuck it out. So, you know, at times, I think, well, I should be further down the road, but ultimately, I'm really learning to embrace and enjoy the process because ultimately I know where I'm going.
Mhm. Oh,
Beautiful.
yeah,
You've learned a
really.
lot.
Yeah, and pivoting to film festivals, it's pretty hard for a film to be selected for a film festival, and you've been selected for a lot of them. Do you have any advice for for the strategies for filmmakers, particularly new filmmakers, for on how to navigate them?
I actually do. So it would
Oh,
be do
good.
your research, make sure that you research whatever film festival that you are applying to. Certain film festivals, like let's say, for example, the Scary Fest in San Francisco, you probably wouldn't want to submit a comedy to that festival because your chances of getting in aren't that great. So
Hmm.
it starts with your research, and then go to film mixers and meet other people that are in the industry. And it's a very small industry, so I'm sure that you're going to meet other people that work at these festivals or know about these festivals. And once they have kind of a face to the name, then that increases your odds as well. And then lastly, just make sure that you do the best work that you can possible. It's I get it, as a filmmaker, you're light on money, you're short on time, and the instinct would be, let's cut a corner here, or let's fix it in post. But always put your best project forward, and that ultimately is going to be what drives you to get opportunities to get your film distributed
Mm.
and into film festivals.
You've seriously thought about that. Yeah.
I've had a lot of experience with what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. Tell us about your company, Strike Five Films. Why did you start your own company?
um, After probably about 4 years of freelancing and kind of just working as a freelancer, I realized that I wanted to be like the master of my own domain, and I had a huge passion to tell my own stories and to work for myself. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, and I just always thought that if I bet on myself, then there's really no downside to that. So I started Strike Five Films in 2011 on January 1st. I made it like my New Year's resolution, and I chose the name Strike Five Films because I wanted to give homage to perseverance. They say in life you only get three strikes and you're out, but um, in anything, you have to be willing to go back and back and back again to, ultimately, get your whatever goal you're after. So we called our company Strike Five Films, paying homage to, perseverance.
I love
It's
that.
beautiful. Instead of four, you went for five.
Yeah, why
Yeah. I mean,
not?
And
that's
probably
amazing.
6 and 7 too.
It
Yeah.
works. It works with the tally mark. So that's kind of where I got the logo
Oh.
idea.
Oh,
Hmm.
geez. I love that. What has been the most memorable experience you've had this far?
Um, you know, uh, Probably on my first film, I knew nothing. I was no better than anyone because I bought my camera online for $35 from eBay. Um,
Oh.
I did not know how to write at this point, but I reached out to a couple of friends and said, "Hey, I'm going to do a film." Um, and instead of laughing at me, they said, "What can I do to help?" Uh, and that was really like
Good
this.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
I was just so amazed that everyone kind of pitched in, and they didn't
Hmm.
question anything. They were always there to help, and that's I've had a lot of great moments, but I always think about that because they could have obviously said, "Well, you're not good enough to be a filmmaker," but they never said that. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Well, you chose them well as friends. You know,
I'd say I'm a good guy.
yeah, well, they say
Probably biased, but yeah.
yeah, you are who you hug, right? So
Oh, I
it's
like that.
really good to have that network of people around you. Yeah, that's what Lionel Richie always used to say. You are who you hug.
Mm.
And you are personifying that when you're saying your early set of friends embraced you and helped you with your initial journey. That's pretty amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah. We all there's people around all of us that put us down initially when we say we want to do something. So you really found a good tribe. Hang on to those people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
What
sure
would
you
you like?
have.
Yeah. What would you like our audience to have as a takeaway today, Jason?
I would just say, everyone has a talent on this earth, and they say the richest place on this earth is the graveyard, because a lot of people have dreams and goals and just desires inside them, and for whatever reason they don't pursue them. So uh, if you have a dream, go out and do it. Never quit, give it your all, and you'll see that things will work out. And just be patient with it, because it takes time to kind of get to where you want to be, and to kind of develop that gift with what that's within you. So um, yeah, I would just say, just go after your dreams and just be persistent.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Persevere. Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of learned by doing, right? You didn't go to film school.
Yeah, I didn't go to film school. When I took undergrad at Eastern Illinois, it was more of like kind of getting you ready for broadcast news. So,
Oh,
I learned a little bit there, but, it's not anything near to like what it is with being filmmaker.
Nothing
excellent.
like being in the fray.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
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 Oh, thank you so much, Jay. I feel like there's so much more that we ought to be asking you because you're living such an exciting life and the life of a creative. And
hmm
it sounds from everything you've said that all the advice you're giving is for everyone in the creative community, whether you're an actor or writer, producer, artist, um, painter, sculptor, anything. I'm sure I'm missing something, but so thank you.
I agree,
Thank you.
for sure.
Our guest today on Late Boomers has been Jason Johnson, award-winning producer, writer, and director. Check out his reel on YouTube, or you can reach out to him at Strike 5 Films or at Jason Johnson, that's JAYSON, JOHNSON, producer.weebly, WEEBLY.com. Thank you.
And we are grateful to our listeners always. And we want to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Late Boomers Podcast, where you can watch the video version of our podcast. And also, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Take us walking, take us biking, take us with you in your car. Give us a 5-star review. We're on Instagram at I am Kathy Worthington and at I am Mary Elkins and at Late Boomers. We always strive to inspire and entertain you. Thanks again so much, Jay.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.biz. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.